Hello, my name is Ruby. If you are new to this channel, I am a professional psychic, tarot reader, astrologer, sound healer. I am also a priestess of Mary Magdalene. And this video is going to be about all of my favorite books about Mary Magdalene. So if you're interested in more Mary Magdalene content, please like and subscribe to this channel. I've talked about some of these books before in previous videos, but I thought it would be helpful to just have one video to refer people to if they're looking to research more, read more about Mary Magdalene, about her teachings, her energy, her legacy, all that good stuff. So I've got a big stack of books. Let's dive in. So the first book I'm going to talk about, actually, I don't have the physical copy with me. I let someone borrow it a while ago and I still haven't gotten it back. But the book is Mary Magdalene Revealed by Meggan Watterson. And the reason why I'm talking about this book first is it's because I think it's the best book on Mary Magdalene's teachings for a total beginner. And it's also the first book that I read that really got me interested and awakened to my own connection to Mary Magdalene. So I like this book because Mary Magdalene Revealed is really centered around the Gnostic teachings that are found in the Gospel of Mary as well as the other Gnostic texts. And the author, Meggan Watterson, I believe that she is a theologian. She's graduated from an Ivy League divinity school. And so she has a lot of knowledge about the Gnostic scripture, but her writing style is also very approachable and easy to read. Now, my caveat with this book is that I do find the writing style to be a little too fluffy and eat, pray, love for my taste at times. You might love it. But because it's such an easy, approachable read, I feel like this book is a really great jumping off point. It's also a great book to give to your mom and your coworker and anyone you want to introduce these teachings to in a way that's going to be very palatable for someone that maybe isn't really deep on an esoteric spiritual path. Like the book Mary Magdalene Revealed, out of all of the books on this list, I think is the best for somebody that has no spiritual practice currently, like no prior knowledge about any of the things that we're going to talk about today. So Mary Magdalene Revealed by Meggan Watterson, very easy to find. You can find it on Amazon. I think I got my copy at a used bookstore. Great audiobook. The author reads the audiobook if you have an Audible account. So that's definitely a great book if you're just wanting a taste of the Magdalene medicine. And that book is going to be specific to the teachings. So each chapter, the author, Meggan Watterson, has a piece of scripture from the Gospel of Mary or from another Gnostic text. And then she has, I think, what she calls a little sermon about each teaching. And in that sense, the book has more of a memoir quality because she's pulling from her personal life. She's talking about her own experiences. And so it's not so much about the life of Mary Magdalene or about the goddess herself. Even though there is some of that, it's centered mostly around the teachings. And I feel that the author really understands and has internalized and is herself embodying these teachings. So it's a good one. Even though the writing style isn't my personal taste, I revisit it often because the content itself is solid. Big fan. So let's move on. Okay, so if you are wanting to know more about Mary Magdalene, you're going to want an actual copy of the Gospel of Mary. The Gospel of Mary is very short, so you're often going to find it comes with a commentary. This is my favorite. Karen King is a professor of Harvard University Divinity School. And so this is a very well-researched academic approach to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. There's other translations and commentaries as well, but you'll definitely want this in your collection if you are finding yourself really drawn to this path of divine feminine Christianity and you're feeling called to work with Mary Magdalene in a deeper way. So not much to say about this, but just get yourself a copy of this, and I recommend this translation, this commentary, but by no means is this the only one. So, Gospel of Mary. Now I want to talk about probably my favorite of all time book about Mary Magdalene. I refer to this book as my Bible, and it's falling apart a little bit. This is the Magdalen Mysteries by Seren and Azra Bertrand. Now this book she is a beast. She is very dense. There's a lot here. We have illustrations, and if you are open to a more esoteric, divine feminine, goddess-infused version of Christianity that is rife with sacred sexuality and womb magic and vulva worship, this is your book. This is your book. I love this book. These authors are rock stars. I have their other books as well, and I'm a big fan of these authors. This book goes so deep, and it connects all of the dots throughout history of all of the Magdalene medicine throughout time. So it starts with the priestesses. Oh, my light just shifted, so we had a lighting change. Don't know why that happened. So this book starts with priestesses from the Neolithic age to the priestesses of Inanna in Sumeria, and sacred sexuality within these priestess roles and rites. And from there it goes into the cults of Isis, to the lifetime of Mary Magdalene herself, and then ways in which that legacy and that lineage carried on past her time in physical incarnation. So the Grail Mysteries and the Priestesses of Avalon. And there's just so much to say here. I could spend hours talking about the content in this book itself. But it is so just potent and rich and deep. And I try to read this book once a year, so I'm in the middle of it right now currently. I took a break to finish some other books because your girl's like reading 12 books at a time all the time. It's a problem. I'm working on it. But I'm always a little bit like reaching into this book for something. And it's divided into 3 parts. So the first part is everything I was just telling you about, the historical legacy of Mary Magdalene. It's very centered around Mary Magdalene as a priestess, and there's a lot in this book about sacred sexuality, including artistic depictions of female bodies and sacred sexual rites. So if that is not your cup of tea, skip this one, or at least read everything else on this list before you read this one to kind of warm yourself up to it. So that's the first part of the book. The second part of the book is basically a deep dive into this piece of artwork called the Ghent altarpiece and how the authors feel that the teaching and the legacy of Mary Magdalene and the feminine Christ is encoded in this altarpiece. That part's a little dry, I'm not gonna lie, but there's good information to be gleaned from it. And then the last part is really about embodying this medicine ourselves. And so it's very well researched, it's very practical, it's just a glimpse into my soul. So if you're curious what my soul looks like, this is a good one to check out. Big fan of this book. It's a journey for sure. And the authors write in a very poetic style, which you'll either love or you'll have to slog through. I love it, but I have to be in the right mood for it. But this is a good one. Okay, so this is tied for my favorite, maybe, with the next book that I'm going to talk about, which is St. Mary Magdalene by Tom Malachi. Now, this is Tom Malachi writing down stories about Mary Magdalene and teachings about Mary Magdalene from a Gnostic oral tradition. So this book is really powerful. It's really potent. Not all of it is factual, and he communicates that. And by that, I mean, like, there's different origin stories for Mary Magdalene in the Gnostic tradition. So, you know, there's this story, she grew up this way, and then there's this story, she grew up this way. We're talking about myth and archetype. So it doesn't matter what is true. They're both revealing the nature of the archetype, the nature of the energy of the Magdalene. Out of all of the books I'm talking about today, I feel this captures the essence of the goddess the best. And that's why, even though I love Magdalen Mysteries and she is my Bible, this is like tied for my favorite. Even though there's not as much there in terms of like how many pages we have of information, this book is just so true to the actual essence of the Magdalene. And the stories are beautiful. Mary Magdalene is really depicted as like this wild yogi type Dakini character, which I resonate with and relate to so much. And something I really love that Tom Malachi talks about in this book is that Mary Magdalene carries the essence of Eve and Lilith inside of her, which we would consider aspects of the light and dark feminine within the Christian tradition, right? And I feel this is very true about Mary Magdalene. Like Isis and Inanna, she is a light and dark goddess. She carries the heavens and the underworld inside of her. So definitely check this out. If you already are a fan of Mary Magdalene, you will love this one if you haven't read it yet. You will love it. Love it. Read it again and again like I do, and there's something new you'll find every time. Okay, so the last book we're going to talk about is the Magdalen manuscript, The Alchemies of Horus and the Sex Magic of Isis. This is channeled material by Tom Kenyon. Now, you guys are going to laugh at me. I procrastinated reading this book at the beginning of my Mary Magdalene journey because it was channeled. And you're going to laugh at me because I like channel. But I was so resistant to channeled material. And, I still am, in a way. I'm very picky about the channeled material I read. You should be too. Take it with a grain of salt. You do not need to metabolize all of it as truth. Take what works for you, leave the rest. That is a very healthy mentality to have, really about everything in your life, but especially about channeled material. And the reason why is because, first of all, we can channel anything, okay? The astral plane is like rife with so many beings that we can channel. So how do we know we're channeling the highest light, the highest truth, the highest vibration? That's a piece of this. And the second is that no one is truly an unbiased, clear channel. None of us. We can be almost that way. But because we have humanity and we have egos and we have the filtering system, even of like language barriers, nothing is ever going to be channeled 100% crystalline. It can get close. It can get really close. But we're translating something from a higher dimension and vibration of consciousness, and then we're filtering it through human language, and then we're speaking it. So just be careful with channel material and just use discernment and wisdom. That was a side tangent for free. The Magdalen Mysteries is a channel text by Tom Kenyon that I feel was channeled very clearly and very accurately. Most of it resonates with me. And in this book, Tom Kenyon, who has very similar actually ideas as I do about channeling, which is a green flag. Like when a channeler says like, hey, only take what resonates, like that's how you know they are an ethical channeler. So Tom Kenyon channels Mary Magdalene in this text, and she talks about her time as a priestess of Isis, and she shares sacred energetic practices that have to do with alchemizing sexual energy for healing and transformation. This is through the Egyptian cosmology. And so we're talking about the Ka, the etheric body double, and using these practices of sacred sexuality to strengthen and energize our Ka, our energy body, for various spiritual purposes. And in this book, Mary Magdalene talks about how these practices she was engaging in with Yeshua, and this is one of the reasons why, after he left physical incarnation, he was able to really continue teaching on as a light being, as an ascended master. So it's a little out there, right? Like, this is not Mary Magdalene revealed by Meggan Watterson. Like, Mary Magdalene revealed by Meggan Watterson, give it to your grandma, who is a Lutheran. And it might be a little edgy for her, but she's going to be able to read it and take something from it. This is definitely more in the New Age, ascension, energy medicine type category. But it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So I encourage you that even if this isn't normally your go-to when it comes to like spiritual material, if you are really into Mary Magdalene, this might be worth checking out. And I've done some of the exercises in this book, and I have to say they work. And they're not so different from other forms of tantric practice. So they're not totally left field. If you already have a understanding of some of the energetic tantric practices that come from like the Taoist tradition or from like other forms of tantra, it's not going to be like brand new information for you. It's going to be just a really specific version of things you might already know. So that's all the books that I have to talk about today. Those are my favorites. They're my go-tos. They're the ones that I'm reading all of the time, that I continue to dive into. like reading and just learning and education is a huge part of my spiritual practice and my spiritual development. And these books are also dense and full of just truth and wisdom that every time I read them, I'm discovering something new. So by no means is this like all of the books on Mary Magdalene that there are, or all of the books about Mary Magdalene that I've read. These are just the ones that I find to be the most true and authentic to how I experience her energy, and that have the best information. So if you end up reading any of these and they resonate with you, let me know. Leave a comment. If you have any questions, as always, leave a comment on this video. You can send me a DM on Instagram at rubywolfstar. And as always, I am sending you love and wishing you well.